After the Second World War, there was a very great tzaddik. His name was Rabbi Halberstam. His name was, everybody knew him as the Kloisenberger Rebbe. And the Kloisenberger Rebbe Nebuch lost a wife and 11 children in the war. And yet afterwards he went to the DP camps and he gave chizuk to the young boys, to the young girls, and to all the community. Eventually he came to America and he moved to Eretz Yisrael. He built up a whole community. Tremendous person. But while he was in the DP camps, he built a yeshiva. He opened a yeshiva for the young boys. And many of them came. But there was one boy, Meshulam, who didn't want to go. And Meshulam had lost his parents. His siblings were killed in the war. And he didn't want to be religious anymore. And many people tried to talk to him, but it didn't help. He didn't want to talk to anyone. Finally, somebody went to the Kloisenberger Rebbe because they knew that he knew his family. And they said, Rebbe, maybe you'll speak to him. He said, of course, I'll be happy to speak to him. Tell him that I want to see him. Now, when Meshulam heard that the Kloisenberger Rebbe wants to speak to him, of course he had to say yes, he's going to go in. But he knew what the Rebbe would want, that he should become back religious. So he decided he's only going to give one-word answers. He's not getting into any conversation with the Rebbe, because otherwise he knows that the Rebbe will get into a conversation and try to convince him. So he comes in, and the Rebbe says to him, you're Meshulam? He says, yeah. He says, your father was Leibish? You're the son of Leibish? He said, yeah. The Rebbe says, I heard you used to be a masmid. A masmid means somebody who learned very well, very diligent. He said, yeah. Again, avoiding any conversation. And then suddenly the Rebbe said something, and the kid was so surprised, he wasn't expecting that. The Rebbe looked at him and said, you're angry, right? He looked up at the Rebbe. He said, yeah. He said, I know why you're angry. Because you lost the best ones, and they left you. They took the best ones and they left you. I feel the exact same way. They took my wife and 11 children. They took the best ones and they left me. And all of a sudden the Rebbe started crying, and he put his head on the shoulder of Meshulam, and he wrapped his arm around Meshulam's shoulder, and he started crying. He said, they took the best ones and they left us. They took the best ones and they left us. And all of a sudden Meshulam, all the pent-up emotion came out of him, and he started crying. And he couldn't stop crying. And Meshulam told me, I met him when he was an older person. He lived in Baltimore, but he had the relatives in Kew Garden Hills. I met him in Kew Garden Hills. He said, the Rebbe and I cried for 25 minutes in a row. And all the Rebbe kept on repeating was, they took the best ones and they left us. They took the best ones and they left us. And when they both finished crying, there was a boy, a kiss on his forehead, and he wished him well. And Meshulam told me that that night, for the first time in 2 years, he said Shema Yisrael. He said Kriya Shema. And a couple of days later, he started putting on his tzitzit, and then he started putting on his tefillin. And I said to Meshulam, Meshulam, tell me, what was the difference the way the Rebbe spoke to you and the way everybody else spoke to you? And he told me something that I wrote down that I'll never forget. He said, everyone spoke to my head. The Rebbe spoke to my heart. And that's the difference. When you give a compliment from your heart to somebody else's heart, they feel it. They know it. And that's how you make a relationship.